What the does Nicki got going on these days? All right, I can't be the only one asking that question. So from industry beefs that she's had with Jay-Z, Rock Nation, Cardi B, and more, to taking her talents to more of a global stage by delivering speeches at the UN, aligning herself with Donald Trump, and denouncing genocide in Nigeria.
I would like to thank President Trump for prioritizing this issue and for his leadership on the global stage in calling for urgent action to defend Christians in Nigeria, to combat extremism, and to bring a stop to violence against those who simply want to exercise their natural right to freedom of religion or belief.
To more recently, showing up on the stage of America Fest and aligning herself with Erica Trump. I think it's safe to say that Nicki Minaj is playing a very risky game these days. Wouldn't you agree? Now, some of the most boldest questions I think that need to be asked at this point is this the most boldest rebrand in music history? Or has Nicki Minaj outrun her own influence? Yeah, I'm asking the tough questions on this video and we're gonna get to it in a few. By the way, my name is Uche and I make videos like this every single week, or at least I'm planning to. So if you like videos like this, hit that like button. If you want to see me grow and elevate and get to my next subscriber goals, hit that subscribe button for your boy. Oh, make sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter and engage with me at UCHAYVA to catch up with everything that I typically rant about. All right, guys, now let's get into this. Okay. Let's talk about Nicki Minaj Petty out of Queens, New York, aka the Queen of Rap, aka the Harajuku Barbie, aka Roman Zelensky, aka Nicki the Boss, aka Chun-Li, aka there's more, but we're gonna keep it at that. All right, she deserves all them AKAs. Now, before we get back into any of the controversy, which clearly everyone's talking about, and also I'm gonna highlight in this video, we gotta give Nicki major props, or at least if no one will, I'm going to do it because it's important. Nicki Minaj has been the blueprint for an entire era of hip hop. She's self-proclaimed the queen of rap, but I think most people would actually completely agree with that, where she's carved out an unbelievable lane for herself when it comes to the genre and also music as a whole, selling over 100 million records, which is no simple feat to achieve, while also having multiple diamond singles. Also, she has been a versatile titan, if you will, in the industry, where she was able to bridge the gap between the gritty streets of Jamaica, Queens, where she was brought up in, infusing that to being a lyrical, respected rapper, to gracing the global stage and having several pop records and dominating the charts over a 15-year period. This is uncharted territories that many men can't even say. And so Nicki is groundbreaking for many reasons. And then lastly, again, she's a game changer, man. She's moved the needle her entire career. She's had all of the success globally, commercially. And so for her to be such a notable figure, I just feel like that needs to be highlighted more, right? I mean, we can criticize folks all we want for their political beliefs, but nothing will ever take away from what she's done in music. And I just want to highlight that before we get into anything else. Now, Nicki Minaj's upbringing has been well documented, so nothing I say is going to be super groundbreaking to folks who are already familiar with her background, but for folks who are not, it's important to understand that her roots go back to about 07, 08, 09 in the 2000s, where she had a couple of key mixtapes that really broke her into the industry. And those, I'm talking about Playtime Is Over, Sucker Free, and also I'd argue her most pivotal mixtape of them all called Beam Me Up Scotty, which was more of a genre blending sort of effort from Nicki. And so around that time, Lil Wayne was able to discover her, put her into the Young Money, Cash Money farm system, where she was able to come up with Drake, Tyga, and some others around that time within Young Money, Cash Money. And of course, that led into her meteoric career. But for those of you guys who are only familiar with her studio albums, I think the one that's pivotal, I should say, the start, it's gotta be Pink Friday back in 2010, which peaked at #1 on the Billboard charts. And it had songs like Super Bass, Moment for Life, and Your Love. Next, we gotta talk about Pink Friday, Roman Reloaded, which dropped in 2012. That one also peaked at #1 on the Billboard charts, selling 253K first week album sales. That had top songs like Starships, Pound the Alarm, Storm and Bees in the Trap, which is still a song that's making waves in 2025, which is very crazy. Go check her Bees in the Trap challenge that's going off right now as she goes back and forth with the governor of California. But anyway, next, we gotta talk about her album Queen, which dropped in 2018. This one peaked at number 2 on the Billboard charts, selling 185K first week sales. It had top songs like Chun-Li, Barbie Dreams, and Bed. And we're rounding this off with her most recent project called Pink Friday 2, which dropped in 2023. This one debuted at number 1 on the Billboard charts, selling 228K first week sales. And it had notable songs like Super Freaky Girl, F the Club Up, and Everybody. Now that we got her music, at least the past music out the way, let's talk about a lot of what people are going off on Nicki about more recently. And I think to start out, we gotta talk about her long-standing beef and back and forth. Well, I don't even think it's really a back and forth. Seems to be one side, at least publicly, with Jay-Z. Now, earlier in the year of 2025, she was dissatisfied that Lil Wayne was seemingly snubbed from the Super Bowl. And of course, Jay-Z is at the helm of making the decisions, which ultimately showed Kendrick Lamar performing at the Super Bowl. And of course, Nicki had a lot to say. So did a lot of other people as well, in disbelief and disapproval. But later on in the year, Nicki accused Jay-Z of owing her upwards of $200 million in what she calls a karmic debt that Jay-Z needed to settle over title equity that was never paid out to her. And so, hey, I know Jay-Z has been supported publicly by tons of people. He's also been criticized publicly by tons of people. Not sure what is the truth here, but that ain't got nothing to do with me, you, or anybody else. That's between two individuals, and who owes who. Next, we fast forward to September, where Charlie Kirk was assassinated, unfortunately and tragically, I might add. But she did form a public sort of bond with Erica Kirk. And so that was interesting because it may have signaled what we ultimately have seen later on in the year, which we're going to get into later. Next, in September, she also had a more famous tweet that is much more pivotal at this point, where she tweeted the date March 27, 2026, which may be speculative to a new album, which I know I've reported, everybody's reported. Very interesting to see, will any of the music reference any of the controversy that she has been under? Also, prior to her linking up with a lot of the political figures more recently, I wonder, kind of, has the music taken a shift based on where she seems to be politically and publicly? I don't know. Next, we gotta highlight her beef with Cardi B, which went nuclear as far as I'm concerned. I mean, they went on a public spat where Nicki was going back and forth with Cardi. They both were going low, I'm not gonna lie to you. And again, that's women business. However, things did get dark because Nicki was going at Cardi's children, which I think most people agreed was a bit nasty and uncalled for, regardless of what they both are beefing about. But hey, I'm staying out of that one because they both will probably beat each other up when they see each other. Fast forward to November 2025, and Nicki had a viral address at the UN where she spoke alongside Ambassador Mike Waltz about the Christian genocide in Nigeria, where she thanked Donald Trump and several others for the opportunity to speak on a global stage. Next, we got to talk about what she's gotten herself into more recently, where in December of 2025, she had a appearance at the America Fest event where she praised Trump as a handsome and dashing individual.
Dear young men, you have amazing role models like our handsome, dashing president.
And she also called J.D. Vance an assassin, which went viral. At least it was a viral gaffe.
You have amazing role models like the assassin J.D. Vance, our vice president.
And ultimately, she labeled Governor Gavin Newsom a newscum. Yo, I can't make it up. Y'all let me know if you think these events within 2025 are a complete exaggeration, or if you think Nicki is off the deep end with her quote-unquote antics and shenanigans. Y'all let me know. Okay, so now let's talk about what to expect in the future for Nicki Minaj and her upcoming album. Now, from a musicality perspective, I don't think Nicki has has really given us much to go off of, to really know which direction she's gonna take the new album. I do think she has a bunch of people that she's planning to diss. I think that's low-hanging fruit, and of course she's gonna have to get that off, and I named a few of them, but trust me, I'm sure the list is longer than we think, and that includes the Megan Thee Stallions and everybody who she considers an op at this point. But furthermore, beyond the people she's dissing, beyond how the album is gonna sound musically, beyond if she's going to address her new political stance, this era of Nicki Minaj has never been more risky. It's never been more filled with backlash that she's been receiving from people who already were questioning Nicki Minaj. And I think that's the point here that I'm trying to highlight. Nicki has always had detractors. Nicki has always had people who've gone against her, people who thought she is out of her mind, in certain instances, deranged, whatever name you can think of. But now more so than ever, we're seeing her own barbz community question Nicki Minaj's direction. And it almost seems to be this fracture within her fan base. Of course, there's gonna be the people who believe in Nicki wholeheartedly. She can do no wrong. She's their queen. They gonna bow to the throne, if you will, at all times. But for those fans who leaned more heavily towards the Democrats and who were more liberal, how does that factor into her new political stance? How does her support for all the different entities that she's been showing, how does that change the perception of her music? Obviously, when the new album drops, we're all gonna have our informed opinion, but for me, going into the album, leading up to the anticipation of the project, we've never been at a more controversial time in Nicki Minaj's career where it's very, very unclear at this point where her legacy is. How will it be defined? It almost makes me think of what happened with Kanye West, right? Kanye is this legendary rapper, producer, figure in music, and as soon as he aligned himself with Donald Trump, as soon as he aligned himself with MAGA, as soon as he started to criticize different communities, his fan base split up significantly, and Kanye in today's day and age has been working in overtime to try to repair his image. He's even sat down with rabbis. I mean, go figure. And so I'm predicting how this will go. Will she sort of have a redemption arc? Is she take a turn that she's gonna stay in? I don't know. We're gonna find out though in 2026 for sure. But what do you guys think? Are you excited for Nicki Minaj's upcoming album in 2026? Or has all of the things that she's gotten herself into, the controversy that she's engulfed in, prevented you from kind of getting excited about that new album? Are you off Nicki, essentially, is what I'm asking. I don't know. Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, my name is Uche. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.